Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Inga. I'm a content developer at Zealed and I'll be moderating the webinar today. We understand what it means to run a small business, so thanks for joining us this morning to learn more about some of the common design mistakes we see in websites. A website that's designed to be user-friendly and engaging is sure to create a positive experience for site visitors, encouraging them to do more business with you. However, there may be a few website design errors you're making that are hindering your chances to acquire new customers and grow your brand online. So today we'll be talking about 8 common website design mistakes and how you can fix them. Our speaker with us today is John Hoomer. He's an agency director at Zealed and he's been in the industry for over 20 years with a long history of excellence and passion for what he does. In a moment, he'll talk you through some of the common mistakes we see in website design. A quick run through of how the webinar will run today. If you have any questions for us, you can send in a message in the chat mode or question mode in this panel on the right of your screen. You can also message me or John privately if you prefer, and we can respond to you privately. After the webinar, we'll be sending out a link to watch the replay. So if you have to leave early or your internet's acting up or you missed anything while listening, you'll be able to catch up with the recording at another time. We'll also be having our Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So we do encourage you to send in any thoughts, comments, and especially questions as you watch the webinar. And just to make sure the chat function's working for everyone, please tell us in the chat mode or question mode what you're currently struggling with in your website design. We also have a free offer for attendees of the webinar today. You should be seeing it on your screen now. If you click this link, you can sign up for a free online strategy session with one of our senior digital business strategists. These sessions are really helpful because you can use the time to discuss anything in your business, such as your website, digital marketing strategy, search engine optimization, social media, your Google ads, or anything else that you might want to know more about. And without further ado, here's John to talk you through 8 common website design mistakes and how you can fix them.
Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you find our topic today insightful for your business. And as earlier mentioned, I'm going to be discussing some of the common website design mistakes you can make when designing a website and what you can do to fix these mistakes to create positive experiences for your end users that visit your site. Now, as mentioned, we'll be going through 8 different website design mistakes and how to fix them. These design mistakes will cover website design and development, content and copywriting, mainly particularly to your web pages, the use of graphic design and imagery, and the usability of searchable features on your site. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about the most important elements of your website and how they might be limiting a good experience of your website. When your website isn't optimized for devices other than desktop, and when your web pages show a poor use of white space, those mainly are the 2 elements, particularly with common design flaws. And so when you're reviewing that, if you have a current website, look at these 2 areas and see how well you think you're doing. If you don't have a mobile optimized site, that can really hinder the experience that your user may be experiencing, and as a result of that, they will either leave your site straight away and go and try to find someone else that might be able to provide them with that content that they're wanting to read or that information that they're wanting to try to find out. Now, the website, if a website is not optimized for mobile and tablets devices, we got to realize that our users are searching on mobile devices, and we have statistics that show that 60% of searches are done on mobile devices, When you then look at potentially customers that are going in-store, that increases to about 85, 87% of in-store customers searching for the same product but elsewhere. I'm sure that you've done it, much like my wife and I. We do it all the time. We look for the best deals, and so if we're in store, we'll look online very quickly to find out if it's cheaper somewhere else, and we're quite happy to go to that other store to purchase it. And so that's what your customers are currently doing. If you have an unresponsive design that doesn't scale well for small screens, that really impacts your end user's experience, and then distracts them and has them go away from the site. It really creates a poor experience for your end user, and they often don't necessarily find the content that they're wanting, or that unresponsive site often increases the chances of that end user leaving your site because of the poor experience that they're having on your website. So how to fix it? Use responsive design to adopt or adapt the content to screen size. Highlight key content before other design elements. Ensure that the navigation is easy to find and use on mobile. Keep content concise and test the mobile version regularly so that you know what the experience is like for your end users or your customers. Testing is a normal thing that we often do. We well before we launch any website, we do a number of different tests of the whole conversion pathway of a site, from an end user entering the homepage to the client going into potentially a category page to a potential product page, checkout page, and then payment gateway. We test everything in that conversion pathway to ensure that we mimic exactly what the client potentially could be experiencing, but also how we can improve that experience for the customer. And so we encourage our clients to do the test, to test their own conversion pathways of their sites, whether it's a service-based business website or whether it's an online shopping website. Just one more thing. Keeping the content concise and short and prioritizing high value content really enhances the user experience of your site on mobile. And it's also recommended that you keep the navigation menu particularly simple, so that the use of the end user finds that content really easy. Okay. So let's have a look at the next slide. All right. So white space. What websites usually have is either white space or black space. And what I mean by that is, for some websites, they're built and designed on top of a white background, or they might be built and designed on a top of a black background. And so some websites may have white space, some websites might have black. But white space is what creates distance between the different pieces of content in the web page design. And what I usually call it is modules. And so you'll have them, you'll enter the site and you'll have the hero image. You may have another module that is below that hero image, and then another module. And these modules are usually consisted of a number of things. If you have a service-based business, it may go into your services that you offer. The next module down may be some testimonials of your customers and building their credibility and trust because you offer that service. And so that white space is what creates the distance between the different pieces of modules or content on the web page design. And its placement is important because when done right, it makes a huge difference. The content is scannable. It draws attention to content, key content. It helps readability and helps the end user to process information better or easily. Your use of white space on your website needs to be carefully thought out and balanced. Too little white space leads to a cluttered page design that is difficult for users to navigate and find what they're wanting to search for. Similarly, using too much white space draws attention away from key content. Okay, so there's two ways to format your content better with white space. First use is micro white space to separate elements like text or imagery, such as an image gallery, or second, the use of macro white space for large areas of the web page, commonly between sections of web pages and around content blocks. And so, if you've got a website that has too much content and no images, it's not going to draw the customer in to read, key content. Okay, so mix it up with a little bit of, here's an image of your service, and this is the service that you offer. Okay. And here's just some examples here on our slide that sort of gives you a bit of an indication of what we're referring to. Okay. We'll move on to web content and copywriting. And I think for a lot of businesses, because they're experts in their service that they offer, or the experts in their trade that they provide, or they're experts in providing a product to their end user and customer. In most cases, copywriting and content can be quite difficult for business owners that may not necessarily have a real good eye for detail. But two of the most common content mistakes we see when building a website is the formatting of that content so that it can easily be scanned by end users, so that those end users can really pick up your key content that you're trying to get across, or poor spelling and grammar. Those are the two common areas that we normally see mistakes, particularly with content and copywriting, is those two areas. And so, yeah, I would encourage you to either do one of the following: either have someone read that content for you before perhaps maybe loading it on the website, or potentially request assistance and support from a copywriter. Okay. Just carrying on with content, and particularly with content that isn't formatted for scanning. Writing a website is very, very different to writing a book, a newspaper, or magazine. Those types of content are formatted best as long paragraphs or text. The same model is not suitable for reading on a website. In fact, people often read slower on screens than they do on books, magazines, or other reading materials. Newcomers to your website don't want to see a wall of text similar to this example on the slide that you see, but they want to be able to see text with breaks that format what key components of service offerings that you're providing for them, and enable them to really be hooked into to do one of two things: either make a call to action or make an inquiry. If it's a service-based business, if it's a online shop, then your call to action obviously would be purchase now, buy now. Okay. But with the content formatting and being scannable, they need to be able to quickly scan your content to help them decide one of two things: if your business is right for them, and if you offer the right solution for them. Okay, there are a few things you can do to make your copy more readable and engaging. And as I mentioned earlier, just breaking up that content into shorter paragraphs really provides dividends and really engages your customer. Using subheadings and bullet points really help. It highlights specific key content, but also highlight or change colors of key sentences and have potentially hyperlinks back to maybe more content that you may want to enable the end user to read. You can also use micro white space and imagery to divide those sections of text, particularly on that page. Making these changes to your copy will get your message across clearly and quickly to site visitors. Okay. All right. So the content has incorrect spelling, so spelling and grammar. Another area of concern, particularly with websites that have just recently some of them might recently go live, and so some may be running to a deadline, and so there's sometimes incorrect spelling and grammar. But the content often is difficult when trying to engage end users to drive that traffic. These might be using the wrong punctuation, incorrect spelling, using passive instead of active voice, missing keywords in sentences or incomplete sentences, and shifting the tense you write in. All of these grammar mistakes can make your website look unprofessional and give potential customers a bad impression of your site. Additionally, misspelling keywords or key phrases in your web content will also impact your search engine optimization. So incorrect spelling and grammar on your web page and in your content can be simply fixed. You can start using a free or paid proofreading or writing tool like maybe Grammarly for checking for the consistency of your tone and tenses, passive voice, and other spelling or grammar issues that come up. You can even also proofread the content on your own or have someone else in your team read it through as well. You can also hire a copywriting, as I mentioned earlier, to produce the real high-level content that your website potentially could increase credibility and trust. This will ensure that your content is accurate, concise, and reads really well for site visitors, keeping them engaged, keeping them on your website funnel to enable them to do what you're wanting them to do, which is either to make a phone call to you, which is either to make an email inquiry to you, or if you're an online shop, have them buy now and make a purchase from you. Okay. All right. Graphic design and imagery mistakes. Now, graphic design and visual design choices are so valuable for highlighting what what makes your brand and your business unique. I think for me, just like with your copy and content writing, the imagery you use on your website can also impact how credible and engaging your business is to site visitors, such as your pixelated images or bad stock photography and using too many colors and fonts. Those choices that you make really can either impact and really build the credibility and trust of your website, or really hinder and perhaps maybe provide a really not so good experience for your customer. So selecting the wrong imagery or design elements can have a huge impact or effect on your website conversion pathway. And as I mentioned before, sometimes you either have to look at, are you going to purchase stock photography, or are you going to take your own photography on your by yourself? So let's just carry on with that thought around photos, pixelated imagery. While stock photography is really, really helpful, if you just don't have the time or budget to take your own professional photos, it can also have some downfalls for your business. If you haven't selected them carefully, if they're not related to your business, obviously that's going to have a huge impact. If they're generic, or if there's an overused stock photos, it can appear inauthentic and unprofessional. And what I mean by that is you're using a stock photo that potentially someone else has also used, and you've come across it. I've come across it a number of times where two different businesses in two different industries have the same photos that they're using, not one but two, which was really weird. Two separate industries, but unfortunately they must have just chose the same photos. And so as a customer, I was like, okay, this is really weird. I'm not quite sure if I should even purchase something from it, and so I went elsewhere. So other examples of bad or overused stock photos include models with over exaggerated emotions or unnatural poses, or perhaps maybe, and this is more to do with maybe diversity, but I'm a Pacific Island. So let's just say I have a Pacific Island business, but I'm using perhaps maybe Caucasian photos. It doesn't perceive an image of what my business is, if that's what I was, if that industry is what I was in. So showing cliches or stereotypes, outdated elements like clothing or settings, abstract designs, over edited images, and low resolution or pixelated images are usually the ones that create a not so good experience for that end user. The eyebrow sort of goes up, and they will start wondering whether or not have they come to a site that is credible. However, there are some quick fixes you can do with photos if you want to use them on your website. Use very specific stock photographs. Ensure they're high quality, relevant to your brand and industry, and that they are unique and meaningful. Try to source stock photos that have a similar style, and the reason for that is you want to be able to take this end user that's come to your website for the first time through a journey. And so if you have a similar style of photos being used in your gallery or in your website, it's just going to build that cohesiveness look and feel. And additionally, you can also replace stock photos with graphic icons or specific elements that you might have, or some good platforms we suggest for stock photos that you can potentially edit is Unsplash, Pixels, and Canva. So you can always go there and potentially utilize their service as well. Okay. We're going to move on to the use of too many colors and the use of too many fonts. This is quite a not a touchy subject, but it's quite an area that most business owners don't think of when they're looking in and getting a website. They don't often think about what font they want, but the choice of colors and fonts on a website is really, really important, mainly for the visual hierarchy of content and consistent look and feel across the web pages. And that's not only just talking about the homepage, but I'm talking about the second level and third level pages, or the interior pages that follow that wireframe throughout that site. And so with other online platforms you use in your business, so you want to be able to carefully think about how many colors you may use on your website and what colors, for example. We as a web designing agency and digital marketing agency, we often use the sort of colors of the logo. So we often base our color throughout the website based on what the website logo might, or what the company logo might look like. In most cases, most company logos are either one or two or three tone colors, and or three separate colors. And so what we try to do is we try to look at avoiding colors like, that might have a combination and mix. We try to just choose one or two, and we go off that. Obviously, if there's a particular requirement for the customer and their brand, then we will stick to those brand guidelines. And we will stick to those brand guidelines and take that look and feel throughout the site. But yeah, using too many colors can often look like the example on the slide today. But funny enough, utilizing different fonts also creates another headache for the end user. The end user is drawn away from a number of the key content on the page, and it doesn't necessarily look professional. So well-chosen colors and well-chosen fonts really helps you highlight key elements and helps your site visitors navigate through and engage with your content on the homepage as well as throughout the site. It's recommended that you don't use more than 3 fonts on your website in a variety of weights and styles. But for selecting colors, it's best to have a primary color, a secondary color, and maybe an accent color. But we normally recommend no more than 4, 5 colors on your website. And this is really to help represent your brand well for potential customers, especially when they find and come across your online other channels. Like you might have a social media page, you might have Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, you might even have a LinkedIn business page. But you need to have them more succinct so that when they land on that say Facebook page, they know exactly who you are, because your representation of your website is aligned to all other marketing on your social media pages, maybe your brochures, your newsletters that you might be sending out to your customers, so they're all succinct and aligned to each other. Okay. All right. Usability and searchability. 94% of consumers expect websites to be easy to use. Okay. I would anticipate that might be slightly higher in the sense that in the last probably 18 months, more and more people are now using either website, digital online platforms to search for what they want. And mainly that's because COVID pushed us that way. I know that my parents, who are elderly, they now purchase from online, and that's because COVID has sort of pushed all of us to sort of to go that way. And so our final 2 website design mistakes have a lot to do with where website elements are located and how easy they are to navigate. So we'll be looking at last at hidden navigation and search bars, and difficult to find contact information and social proof. Now you're probably wondering, well, why would you have hidden navigation, or why would you have a search bar and not make it easy for your customers? Some businesses choose to not necessarily have a lot of information that enables the end user to contact them back. And I'll give you an example. So Sky Sport Now, obviously there were some issues on Saturday night with being able to Chromecast the rugby game against the All Blacks and the Argentinians. Well, you would think that Sky, being such a big business, enables end users to get in touch. Well, the only way that you could get in touch with them was if you went to their Facebook page, made a bit of a complaint, and then they sent an email back, which is basically the complaints email address for any end user to get in touch. Well, there must have been thousands of customers that were wanting to get a hold of them because there was issues with the Chromecasting of that game, and so a lot of people didn't watch a lot of the game. I think a lot of them were either watching it on the iPhone or Samsung tablet or whatever it might be, but a lot of them had to watch it that way instead of Chromecasting how it should go. But they made it very hard, very difficult for customers to try to get in touch. However, like I said, you had to go to other platforms to try to get in touch with them so that they could respond. And so there are areas where there's hidden information that can be obviously created within your site to make it hard for customers to find you. So a hidden navigation or missing search bar is another important feature on websites that easily drive people away as a result of it. Where it's difficult to find information quickly during their search, so when your site's navigation menu is hidden or not visible above the fold. And what I mean by above the fold is when you enter a site on your desktop or maybe on your mobile phone or tablet, what above the fold is what you see when you first enter the site. And so if there's a search bar there, it's really giving your end user an opportunity to engage with you. So when your site's navigation menu is hidden or not visible above the fold, site visitors need to look for visual cues or clues of what to do next. And so while at times an unconventional menu can make an interesting design choice, depending on the industry, it's best to keep it as easy to use as possible for the end user. And what we mean by that is in the examples or images online there, you've got the hamburger, and then you've got what we call a hamburger menu. And what most websites or what most online platforms is taught end users is to click on that, and then you'll get a drop down box. And so anything we see that makes a website difficult to use is when there is no search box, especially for e-commerce sites. Prospects will often use the search feature on a website to find what they're looking for. If they can't find on your site the search bar or it doesn't filter for keywords or spelling errors, then they may look elsewhere in the search in their search online quest. There's a couple of other things you can do to fix these mistakes on your website. And as I mentioned before, you can make your site's navigation menu easy to use. For links to content, use clear terms to describe where each link goes to and the use of different link colors. If you want to use a hidden menu, we suggest you use the hamburger icon, which I've already mentioned earlier, and 3 vertical bars as it's recognizable, mainly for mobile view and desktop websites. You can also incorporate simple, well-designed search bar on your website to make it clearly visible to site visitors using the and magnifying glass icon to place it strategically on your website for discovery. And you can ensure that the search feature has something like autocomplete or placeholder text, or that it filters for keywords to ensure users find what they're looking for. And the reason why I say auto text or filters keywords or autocomplete is because Google's trained people that way too. Like if you search for something on Google's search bar, it'll almost throw out 10 or 12 different things. Are you looking, is this the word you're searching for? And in most cases, it usually is. Those first two couple of choices that Google spits out is usually the keyword that you're looking for. And so you have an option. You can either carry on typing the keyword, or you can just click on that keyword that it's suggesting. And then it'll just bring up whatever is relevant to that keyword search. And then so in most cases in an online shop, that's a really good key tool to have, autocomplete placeholder text, to enable keywords to be filtered as you're typing, or as the end user is typing in, because you're making it easier for the end user to get to what they want to purchase, so that you can get them to do what you want them to do, which is to either make a purchase, buy now, or if you offered, say, 20 different services, and they were searching a specific keyword that was related to a service, you could have that as well, and you could enable them to get to that page, which has some content and imagery on it, that enables them to convert to either making a phone call to you or emailing an inquiry to you to do business. Okay. All right, let's go to hard to find contact info or social proof. Additionally, contact information or social proof that's hard to find on a website also makes it really hard for visitors to navigate and use your website. The contact page on a website plays a critical role in turning prospects into paying customers. If this contact information isn't readily available, or is incomplete or outdated, it can make your website look unprofessional or untrustworthy. And just like any contact information, site visitors are also searching for social proof to help them make their decision to work with you or buy from you. Particularly if it's my first time, or particularly if it's your customer's first time searching for a service and landing on your website. Not including reviews or testimonials, or even case studies of what you do and who you've helped, reduces a business credibility and trust for potential customers, and making them less willing to engage with your brand. So the ways that we can fix these simple mistakes is ensure that you have a contact page set up on your website. Include a message of why site visitors should get in touch with you and what you can do for them. Add all the necessary contact details, mainly a form that they can fill in, and have a strong call to action. I think the other thing around potentially having a contact form that the end user can fill in is that it really helps pre-qualify the potential lead for you as the business, as the organization. And so if you're getting a number of phone calls that just and those phone calls are taking up a lot of your time, and you're not necessarily getting the work that you would ideally want, creating a contact form or a dynamic contact form really can assist you by pre-qualifying these potential leads. And then on the other flip side, you get this lead with all of this information that you actually want prior to calling them back. And so even before calling them back whether or not they are going to be strong leads or potential tire kickers. Okay. It also helps to share links to all your social media platforms that your business is active on. And that's mainly for social proof. There are a few things you can do, especially if you don't have a lot of customer reviews to put on your site. You can share recent statistics and data that your business milestones or achievements, that your social impact or customer case studies. Customer case studies are really good, particularly if you're showing the customer or those end users or potential customers what the customer's problem was, what solution you provided, and then what was the outcome. I think customer or case studies are really good because it provides clarity and particularly what is it that you offer, but how you can provide your services to specific customers that had a problem. And I think that if you have solutions to, I don't know, let's say that you had one or two or three problems that you were able to provide solutions to for your end users. In most cases, if you have those 3 case studies that cover all of those 3 problems, then you're going to be able to generate some real good customers, because those customers that will come through to you and inquire about your services hopefully would have read those case studies and resonated with their problems. And so customer case studies can really increase credibility and increase trust, and decrease the fact that the client doesn't want to do any business with you. And so it really generates some real positive traction with not only leads and qualified leads, but also sharing that on social media really ties both the website and social proof together. Alrighty, I think that's me. I'll hand it back to Inga, and we'll go from there.
Thanks for sharing all this really cool information. I'm sure everyone will have a lot to take away from it. And just a quick reminder to sign up for one of our free online strategy sessions if you haven't already. And I've put a message in the chat because the link that's on the offer is actually outdated, so you can find the correct link in the chat mode. And now it's time for your questions. We want to know what you're struggling with or any other questions you have on website design or website design mistakes. So while you're taking a moment to type those in, I've got one question that another attendee has sent in advance because she couldn't attend. And she asks, now that we know it's best to have only 3 fonts on your website, do you have any recommendations for fonts or choosing fonts?
Yeah, that's a real good question. I think fonts should be easy to read and responsive across devices and align with your brand. Look, there's many different fonts that can be used, but I think for your business, you need to look at what is the best font that's aligned to your business. A ton of resources are available online for choosing fonts, and I think Inga is going to send a link or have a link to a Canva article.
Yeah, it's in the chat already.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Which each of you can refer to for that. But I think, yeah, you want to make the font as easy for your end user to read, and so as long as that's readily available, then you should be fine.
We also had another question from Rachel, and I've sent in a link for True Stock, but she asked if we have any other recommendations for stock photography sites that contain images of New Zealand and represent our diversity.
Oh wow,
I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything particularly of New Zealand. The only one that does come to mind is iStock, but I'm not quite sure if it has a hell of a lot of New Zealand imagery for you, Rachel. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, it always just comes to doing a quick search and see what you can find that's credible, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think once again it goes back to would you be happy enough to put that image on your website? And I think that's where you need to think about. Very much like the fonts, how is that aligned to your website? Much like fonts.
We've also got a question from Tony. Tony asks, should content be structured to include keywords and power words?
Yeah. I think so. You should be that, and the reason why I agree or say yes to that is because when it comes to search engine optimization, and then relating those keywords back to title tags, meta tags, you want to be able to enable the end user to be redirected back to that page where that content came from. But it also increases your chances of your website organically showing on Google. And so, yes, definitely agree.
And we've got another question from Veronica, who asks, does it matter how many pages you have, or what would you recommend if just starting off? Is one page website better with all the information on one page?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would recommend that you have separate or second level pages for the content on that homepage. So if you've got your homepage, which has your hero image, your call to actions, and then all of the modules below, like one module could be services that you offer, another module could be testimonials, another module could be, say, case studies, another module could be your gallery, another module could be something else like a blogging module or whatever it might be. It's all on that one homepage. But the thing is that once an end user clicks, because you don't want to have all of the content on the homepage, so you want to enable the end user to click into, say, the case study, to then open up a second level page that actually has an image of, I don't know what it might be if you were a landscaper, an image of the home that you had done landscaping for, and then the case study content underneath that image. It really drives the end user in and draws them into what is it that you're trying to sell them. And then if you're able to have in that second level page the image, the content, and in that content explaining the issue or the problem that the customer had, what solution you provided, and the outcome of it with a before and after shot or something like that, it really just increases the chances of that potential end user making a decision. And that decision is, you know what, I'm actually going to give these guys or this company a call or an email because I think they've hit the nail on the head. I need that, and I think that look, one page of websites are okay, but I don't think it sells the story. I don't think it provides a huge amount of credibility and trust, because then you end up just trying to fit everything in on that one homepage. And look, you could have a website that's 5 pages. I have websites that have 200 pages, but those 200 pages are available and ready for an audience that they know they're going to capture. And so I think for the individual that asks that question, I would suggest you having short bullet modules that are taken up between a good amount of imagery and content on the homepage, but enabling the end user to do one of two things: click for more information, on that module, or call now.
Oh, Veronica says thank you as well, because that question was from Veronica.
Cheers, Veronica.
Yeah. We've got another question from Lynn. Is there any way to test your content responsiveness for mobile phones without going through every item? RE online shop.
Sorry, could you repeat that question? It sounded like there was two questions in the one question.
Is there any way to test your content responsiveness for mobile phones without going through every item?
Right,
Yeah,
gotcha.
testing mobile responsiveness, yeah.
Yes, gotcha. So there is a Google Responsive tool. I'm not quite sure if you could bring it up and share it in the chat. So what you can do is, first of all, check your website URL if it's responsive to start with. And what I mean by that is if your website was, say, www.johnhomer.co.nz. You put that URL in this link that Inga is going to share with you. And then if it says that it's responsive, then you want to go through each conversion pathway of your website. So for example, if your website's an online shop, you want to go into your category page. And the reason why I say your category page is because most customers for an online shop, they'd go to your homepage. They would then either search a particular category. Like, for example, if I'm looking for a t-shirt or a pair of jeans, I'd go to an online shop, for example, let's say Barker's. I'll go to their homepage. It'll then say menswear. That's a category page. Click on that menswear page, copy that URL, and then slap it in that Google responsiveness checker, and then see if that page is responsive. Because what you're asking me is, are all of my pages on a website responsive? And in most cases, if it's been built in the last 12 in the last 12 months and made live in the last 12 months, they all conversion pathway stages of a website should be mobile optimized. Yeah. But if it was built longer than perhaps maybe 18 months ago, I would encourage you to just check those conversion pathways: the homepage, category page, product page. Usually those 3 pages are the pages that you want to be able to check to see if they're responsive or not. And then if they are, then you're fine. Okay, because usually from the product page it goes to a shopping cart, checkout page, etc., on an online shop. If it's a service-based business, you've really just got the homepage, services second level page, maybe a case study second level page. Check any of those 3 pages. If they're responsive, you're fine.
I've just seen another question from Veronica who said that tool is showing as unresponsive. Can you let us know, have you used the tool, Veronica? I'm assuming she's put in a URL.
Yeah, if it's unresponsive, yeah. If the Google tool is saying that your website is unresponsive, you probably need to talk to me.
Got some work to do. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she says, yeah, so that is the situation.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
With that also, I'm just thinking now what you're saying about checking like all the conversion pathways on your website. Would that also be the same for checking like landing pages for ads, checking that those are optimized for mobile?
Yeah. So in most cases, landing pages that are normally designed and built now, they should be automated and responsive, because the landing pages used for Google Display or landing pages using for Google ads or Google Shopping or whatever it might be, those landing pages are usually designed fairly recent in the sense that they're just going to be utilized to convert one thing, and that's either to convert that end user to fill in a form or make a phone call or send an inquiry. It's only those 3 reasons, other than if they've got Facebook Shopping or Google Shopping.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions I missed. No, I think that's everything. So that's all the time we have for questions today. And a big thank you to John again for taking the time to walk us through all this information.
No worries.
Answering everyone's questions really well. I'll start the presentation again. Thank you. Next slide. So we have an exciting new topic for our next webinar, which is all about how you can do e-commerce successfully. Oh, this date is actually wrong. Sorry, this webinar will be on September 21st, 2022. And that's in a few weeks. So we do encourage you to visit our webinar library for more digital marketing resources until then. And hopefully we'll see you all again on September 21st. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And you have a wonderful day and good rest of the week. Bye.